You're listening to the Law Frog Radio Show with David McDivitt and Ross Ford on Kilo 94.3 FM. Presented by McDivitt Law Firm.
Dave McDivitt, what are you doing, buddy? How are you?
I'm doing well, man. I came back to Colorado to find out that the team that we provided an entry fee for your special tournament came in, I think you said number 2.
Number 2.
Number 1 in our hearts. They did us proud. Had I been there, I'm sure we would have won. I'm kidding. There's no way. We're getting that team every year. For every event I need to do, I'm getting that team.
It's like the Ringers. Is this little thing in corporate America, in the law world, do you actually hire lawyers specifically on some of their athletic skills because you have a McDivitt baseball team or a softball team or anything like that? Is that, because that's been lampooned in movies. I don't know if it was ever real.
I don't know that. I don't know anybody who's ever hired somebody for what they do off the field. Off the field of practice.
That shatters one of my childhood fantasies. I always thought that was the thing. It's like, well, Doug is a crappy lawyer, but damn, have you seen him play softball? We really need someone good on our team. Give him the big contract.
Yeah, that's why, they have Danny McBride movies for things like that.
Damn it. I shouldn't. At this point, I always tell myself, or tell everyone else, don't believe anything. And here I am gobbling stuff up, thinking it's real.
Ross, listen, I live with you in that same fantasy world. I mean, I live with you in a lot of fantasy worlds, but in this particular one, yeah, absolutely. I'm the same way, and I'm sure maybe there are businesses that are out there where the corporate softball league is so intense they need to bring a ringer in, but not in our world. Right. You got to be good in the courtroom.
Dr. Steve's a horrible brain surgeon, but man, he can bowl.
Yeah, that guy is great. Get on your league.
We will answer a few questions that were sent to us from Citizens. Dane, we'll get you for sure. Is it Kissa? Kassia? Kissa? Cassia? She's the one who had her car stolen by her brother. That's not a good one.
Love to talk to her. Love to talk to her.
Siblings, right? Am I right, Dave? Siblings.
Oh, my gosh. I can't wait for my sister to hear this show.
Let's see here. A couple things, though. One from the real news and then one from the freak news. We'll talk about the murder burger in a minute. First, let's talk on the serious front, the new updated laws that went into effect. One is a extension and an expansion of the lemon law, which I'm not too familiar with. I got an old Jeep that I love, and I haven't bought a car in I don't know how many years, and don't plan on anytime soon. But does this apply to just new cars or like old cars? Remember we had the guy who had a catalytic converter problem from a van or something that he bought locally, and they were kind of screwing him around. They eventually came to terms, by the way, thanks to you, Dave. We fixed that guy's problem, but is it just new or is it used too?
Well, you kind of have to think about the term used. Typically, these lemon laws, but Colorado has its own. There are federal laws that apply as well, and it's largely designed to provide a tool to enforce the warranty mechanism that attaches to these vehicles. So you can have a new car, and then if you want to transfer it while it's still within the warranty period, a lot of those same protections should still apply. Lemon law is one of those areas that we use that word a lot. People say, "Oh, it's a real lemon," or I'm sure there's a lemon. I bet isn't this covered by lemon law? And you hear a lot of people talk about it because they bought a used car off some side lot, and it falls apart as soon as they drive away. Those vehicles are usually sold well after the manufacturer's warranty is expired. They are sold as is. The whole caveat emptor. I'm sure there are some Latin specialists out there who are cringing right now, but the buyer beware component that kicks in. But when you buy a new car or you're purchasing a car that's still covered by the manufacturer's warranty, these lemon laws are designed to make sure that the manufacturers are held accountable for defects in the manufacturing process that become evident.
It happens a lot with like the first year models for these vehicles. I remember my dad. That's what some advice my dad gave me when I was a young man. Is never buy a car the first year or two of production because they work out all the bugs those first couple of years.
Yeah. That's what they say about wives too. I mean, and husbands. It's really the third or the fourth round where you figured the bugs out.
For those who don't know, Dave is a jilted divorcee, so that's where he's coming from.
We all come from a certain perspective.
That's great. So 2 years if you get a bad vehicle. I'm sure it's not that easy though, because we talk about law once a month with you, and there's never any easy answers. I remember, I get a used car when I was a kid. Me and a buddy drove to Denver. I bought this like a Datsun truck, and then like going up I-70 headed home. It broke down. I crawled underneath. It was a big crack on the transmission and stuff. So called my dad. He canceled the check. I left the keys in there. We called the place. Oh, you can't do this. It's like, what are you going to sue me over $2,000? It's like, your truck's off I-70. Good luck. And that was all that happened there. But
that's how that plays out. That's in that kind of post-warranty period. But within the warranty period, most of the time these things are fixed. The manufacturers honor the warranty, but it gives consumers certain protections in case they are having trouble getting the dealership to help facilitate that, or the people who are involved in the transaction, making sure the warranty is honored and that the defects are being fixed. Some of these defects take time. There are additional costs that go into it. So it is complicated. There are attorneys who actually specialize in lemon law.
Wow. So it's that big of a problem where that someone specializes in that law? Wow.
Yes.
That's pretty amazing to think. It's scary, actually, to think, especially if you're shopping for a new vehicle. There's enough lemons out there to suffice a small group of lawyers specifically doing those lemon laws. Well, at least you get some more protection. And they add like X amount of repairs. Like before, it's like, we'll try to fix it again. We'll try to fix it again. Now, if they swing and a miss like 3 or 4 times, you can stamp that thing of lemon.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's get to the murder burger. Oh
my gosh, this is and Ross, I want to just congratulate you. You made lemon law actually sound exciting there.
Hey, that's what I do. I'm a radio guy. Our job
you are good.
There's a thing in radio where your job is you polish turds.
Yeah, everybody does it better than you.
I'm the best.
Don't let people tell you you're not good at what you do. Don't listen to them. All right.
Is that a thing? Is there like something I'm missing?
Well, I mean, it's just the people on the internet, the people in the local
talk to my mom?
Media.
Have you talked to my mom again?
Well, she told me this morning that she couldn't be more proud of the work I do on your show.
So the murder burger story, does that as a lawyer kind of excite you? Like, if you were to come across this, it's like, oh my God, this is my big case.
It's salivating over this, the murder burger.
Murder burger. So it's a mom who bought a Burger King kids meal.
Oh,
and the kid didn't like ketchup, so the mom's like, I don't want any ketchup. At least, thank you. And they're driving away, and the kid's like, Mom, there's ketchup all over the bag and all over my burger. And it wasn't ketchup, it was blood. And then, long story short, they come back and they're like, oh yeah, so-and-so cut himself really bad in the back, and he splurted blood all over. We thought we got it all, but obviously a lot got in your bag and your burger. And now the story doesn't say she's going to sue, but she's going to sue, right?
Well, I think
that's a slam dunk, right? That's traumatizing.
I mean, it's horrible. This is just, it's horrible.
Yeah.
I just hope, so for people who are listening right now and don't know this story, you can find it online. This is one of these stories that just makes you cringe.
Yeah.
And I hope that's all it is. I hope it's just a cringe story. That there was blood on their bag, but everybody's healthy and okay. This young little girl's got to get tested now routinely for bloodborne
pathogens or whatever.
Diseases. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, she took a big bite out of the burger. I would have. Dumb Ross, I would hate the whole thing. Ketchup, schmack up. I'm hungry.
Oh my gosh. I know. It's well, I mean, who knows? Maybe that's why you are the way you are.
So, probably so. So first
you ate a lot of murder burgers.
Would you take that case? I came to you and said, oh, my child is devastated. I can't ever eat a burger again. Mr. McDivitt, will you please help me sue Burger King?
Yeah, but and here's why. And here's why I'd take the case, because you have a few different angles. Number one, if she's not sick because of this, let's hope to goodness that she's not sick. She doesn't contract anything from this.
Yeah, her blood doesn't come back positive for Kid Rock.
Right, exactly. Oh God.
Don't want that. So let's assume that, but she still has to go through however long testing that is. How long before they stamp you as safe.
Exactly, and there's an emotional distress component that's baked into that whole experience, the trauma that she's experiencing, obviously what she's going through. Burger King does not want this story to get amplified in the press. And by the way, there's another story too that's getting amplified for another company, that's Disney, and we can talk about that in a minute. But this is another one of those things where you've got a corporation that wants to they need to get out in front of this the right way. At first, the managers just offered a refund. He said, come back in. We'll give you your money back for your burger. for your bag, your
this
sack
time
of
with
food.
100% less blood.
Yeah. Like we guarantee that's ketchup. I know your daughter doesn't want ketchup, but at least she gets real ketchup. And now they're offering to pay for any of the medical expenses that they're getting, but the damages go beyond that. So would I take the case? You bet. Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of it has to do with just trying to hold them accountable and make sure that they've got the right procedures, training in place so that this doesn't happen again. Protect the family. I mean, you will probably have a lawyer who is turning this into like a PR blitz.
Yeah.
And that's one way to do it. And that's to try to, settle out of court and get some leverage that way. There are different strategies that lawyers would employ. Different lawyers approach it differently. The number one thing is to make sure this girl's okay. And I think that's, it's too soon to know what kind of case is this? What is the value of this case to this family? Just make sure she's okay.
You're listening to the Law Frog Radio Show with David McDivitt and Ross Ford on Kilo 94.3 FM. Presented by McDivitt Law Firm.
When I'm getting stonewalled, left voice messages for a couple of our citizens that have dropped some questions. You can always drop a question on the main page, kilo943.com. There's a contact bar. You hit that. It drops down. It says Law Frog, and then it's just a quick name, number, and email. And that's it. Kurt, I left you a message. If you're out there, give a call. And how do you think we say the name? K-A-S. Kasha. K-S-S. Kasha. I'm going to say it's K-A-S-I-A.
I'm going to say Kasha. And right. I'll let you say how you want to say it, but I'm concerned her brother stole her phone, too. I mean, this is getting excessive.
Oh, first your car, then your phone, then your identity.
Yeah.
When brothers break bad. All right, so if we don't hear from them in a few minutes, we'll jump into their questions. One more thing I want to touch on. I'm glad you brought this up because, man, it shows you how evil, first of all, corporations are. And number two, it shows you how evil specifically Disney is. Everyone thinks, oh, they're so great. They have a mouse and it's adorable and they have rides and it's so much fun and you get a corn dog. But like behind closed doors, they are an evil company, just as evil as all the others. It's so funny how Elon Musk gets piled on. But I wouldn't even put him in the top 5 most evil corporations out there. So the story is a guy who had his family in Disneyland, watching the Duck with No Pants and slapping fives with Mickey and Minnie. And then they go to a restaurant. The wife says, hey, I have these allergies, please note that. And they didn't. And they fed her something she was allergic to. And she freaking died. And then he sued. And then what did Disney do? Their lawyer? Because I'm saying, we talked off the air. Whoever came up with this angle originally was getting high fives from everyone in the room saying, oh, Doug, you just saved the day, bro. You were a great lawyer. You're going to run this company one day. Your name is going to be on the bench outside.
Oh, boy, does it backfire. Right. You know what and for people who are hearing this for the first time, they made an argument in court that the husband who lost his wife filed a wrongful death lawsuit asking for a court to hear this and for a jury trial. What Disney said was no, it actually doesn't belong in court. We have to arbitrate this in private arbitration, so not in front of a jury, because years ago the husband signed up for a trial service of the Disney Plus streaming TV service.
3 years ago.
3 years ago. And when he did that, somewhere in the fine print there is that you agree to arbitrate any claims you might have against the Disney company. Now, presumably, when you sign something like that, you're thinking, well, having to do with my Disney Plus streaming service, right? Like I'm paying for it, but I'm not getting it, or it's glitchy, or they're charging.
Stumbled across some adult content that wasn't supposed to be there, something like that.
Exactly. Like your filter didn't work. We put in their age, but they're still getting Mandalorian X-rated version.
Oh yeah.
I knew that would make you happy. Mm-hmm. But so they made this argument and saying that and by the way, the guy canceled his service after a month. He didn't even want the streaming service. It was just
a free trial thing.
It was just a free trial thing. It's the kind of legal argument that makes a reasonable person cringe. Yeah. I would have loved to have been in the courtroom when they tried to make a straight-faced argument supporting that motion. And I wonder how the judge would have responded if they didn't voluntarily dismiss that.
That would be like a record scratch to the judge going, what?
What? I've seen judges become unhinged when they've heard some just ridiculous, stupid arguments, and this is.
And some might even call it a legal genius, legal lawyering too. It's like, hey man, you found the loophole, good job. But
see what you can get away with.
It got out, and once it got out, that's a bad light.
See, that's the thing. We've got to wonder if we didn't find out about it with this.
I see that. It's like on a scale of 1 to 100%, if this hadn't leaked out, if no one knew what was going on behind these closed doors, would Disney continue that angle?
Yes.
Yeah,
now
100%.
They would. 100. I think 100%. They'd continue it until the judge kicked the argument. Yeah, but you know what? And you can get a judge who but these judges were all lawyers themselves. Doesn't mean they all thought the same way that you might think or that I might think.
Yeah.
But I'd say most judges are pretty reasonable, level-headed people. That's why they're in that position. But you could get a wild card, and I mean, to the extent that there is a legal argument there, I mean, they have an obligation to make an argument. As a lawyer, you don't have to love your argument. You don't have to love your client. You don't have to love your facts. You don't have to love the law in one way or the other. But you are required to do your best effort to support your own client and to make legal arguments. Now, there are limits to how far you can go, you should go, and there are limits to the types of arguments that you should make in defending your client's interests. So the law has some checks and balances in place there. But if there's a straight-faced argument, they want to make the argument. They need to make the argument. This one just feels. It just makes you cringe.
A little bit. Fear the mouse. I've said it for years. Fear the mouse, and no one listens, Dave.
Now, Ross, I will say, I'm going to just push back a little bit. Because I do kind of love Disney World, and I love Disneyland, and I have kids, and we
part of the problem, Dave.
You know what? Call me part of the problem.
Go to Six Flags.
My goodness, have you been on Pirates of the Caribbean? It is a ride.
I've never been.
It is a ride. Tom Sawyer's Island.
Nope, never been. Never desired to travel to Disneyland. Don't watch the movies. Pixar, I like those, but other than that, man, I try to steer clear. I do have a Disney stream. That's about the only support I throw to the Disney company. I try to support them, and I don't support Walmart.
You know what? The Walmart saved my bacon on my trip. I'll tell you what. I needed to get a clothes steamer.
One of those fancy suits. One of those fancy lawyer suits that are purple.
It's the big collar and the ruffles.
I'm looking for something purple. A lot of Velcro. Do you have that? Yes, we do.
The underwear aisle.
All right, let's see. Get a couple phone calls. Let's go to break, and then we'll come back, and hopefully that's one of the folks we left messages with. And if not, we'll just take them dry. We got one carjacking via this girl's brother, which that sucks. We got a furnace that shorted out after a tree fell from a neighbor's property. And they're saying, there's an old furnace. It's like, what? It sucks because they're like, it's old. It's bound to happen. It's like, really, coincidentally, it crapped out the exact time your branch fell on my house and shorted out my wires. Oh, yeah, it's just weird coincidence.
You're listening to the Law Frog Radio Show with David McDivitt and Ross Ford on Kilo 94.3 FM. Presented by McDivitt Law Firm.
So one of my neighbor's trees fell on a shed, caused electrical lines to arc, and burn out my furnace. Insurance refuses to pay for the furnace, saying it's old and normal wear and tear. But it did work perfectly. How do I pursue correction from here? Sign Kirk.
So there are a couple of things that go along with it. Number one, I was just thinking about this. How do we, there's an element there that the neighbor's tree might have been negligently maintained somehow. I mean, might be able to file a claim against his neighbor's insurance.
So instead of his insurance?
Right, exactly. But, I don't know. I mean, if this is a lightning strike and it just caused the tree to fall over, it's his neighbor's tree. It fell on his fence. I mean, there's a way to perhaps walk down that path to get another insurance company
If it was
involved.
you, would you just to get two eyes on the project, kind of? Mm-hmm. And then see which one gets it worked out first? Ooh, very interesting. Yeah, the more people with dedicated time to it, the more chance of you getting something fixed.
And so this happens with when you have things that break because of there's a chain here, right? We have to be able to establish that the furnace malfunctioned because of the electrical arc because of that tree falling. And if that can be proved, then the insurance, theoretically would be responsible for the damage. We don't know what the deductible is. I mean, I don't know. I mean, this furnace may be a $1,500 furnace. It might be a $5,000 furnace. Now, that's the new cost. I mean, granted, it's functioning. It's old, I'm sure. I'm sure that's not disputed. But also not disputed is the fact that it was working. And so the guy had a working furnace. So the question then becomes, what's the value of that? Do they have to replace that? Is there a part of the policy that talks about a decline in the amount they would pay, or reduction in the amount they would pay because of the wear and tear? That oftentimes that's what happens. I mean, if you have an insurance policy, but you have some old windows, I mean, they may not give you the full value of a brand new window if something happens, but the value, there's a depreciation component to it too. So there's a depreciation component to this furnace. I don't know what that is. I mean, it could be that what you're talking about, by the time you get down to it, even if insurance were to say, yeah, we'll give you everything you're entitled to under the policy, it wouldn't be enough even to go buy a new furnace to begin with. Mm-hmm. He can bring in an adjuster. I mean, oftentimes if you're dealing with a roof damage claim, for example, the roofing company will come out and they'll do an assessment. They'll tell you how much it's going to cost to get a new roof, and they help make the argument for you with the insurance company why you need a new roof, or why you need this particular kind of a roof, or how much it's going to cost to repair this and some of the siding to your house, and there's other damages that you have. When you're talking about a furnace, and if it's just that one discrete piece that needs to be replaced, then are you able to find an advocate to help you with that, to help establish the need to have it replaced, the value? Can it be repaired? Did the whole thing just get fried? And so maybe you can hire a public adjuster. So these are people who help adjust the claims up. Maybe it's a flat fee. These are not lawyers, and they're not able to. There's a lot of things they cannot do for you. You could also hire a lawyer. You're probably going to end up having to hire a lawyer, given the relative low value of this particular claim, because we're talking about like a specific furnace.
Right. It sounds very much like a old car accident. Like, your car's, you love your car, yeah, but it's a 1988 Gremlin. Yeah. It's not worth that much.
It's not worth much. Exactly.
So, all right, the best advice, though, is to double dip, get both insurance companies involved in this.
Yeah, try it. I mean, you could look at doing that, too. And then also, file appropriate paperwork with the insurance company. Itemize all of the things about that furnace that were working, to establish that it was working. You'll have to do some legwork, Kirk.
Send pictures of your shivering children. That'll change things.
There you go.
Right?
There you go. Or the fact that you used to fry eggs on your furnace the day before because it was a hot working furnace.
And the easy fix, I know it's maybe not the best legal advice, but I'm not a lawyer. Go next door. You steal your neighbor's furnace. Just rip it out and put it in your house and go, hey, what are you going to do about it?
Ross, that is why you win these awards all the time.
I just like
sheer brilliance.
A direct conclusion. I like that. Yeah. Let's get to, what is this here? Is it Lauren? Oh, should we know? Elizabeth. Elizabeth involved in a car accident where the vehicle turned left in front of her vehicle. The light for through traffic was green, but the out-of-state driver turning the vehicle claims the light was red since the turning lane opposite of them was stopped. A police report was filed the next morning since there was no injuries at the scene. All paperwork the driver provided to myself at the scene was expired vehicle registration, no proof of insurance. Does she have a case against the rental company? The vehicle's driver? Do they have responsibility to pay damages to her vehicle? How do you prove something like that at first? I mean, because it goes to, was it he said, she said?
Right, that's the thing. There are several layers to this. Let's just take a few things and try to make sense of this. Let's assume that the out-of-state driver was responsible, is the one who actually caused this crash. So let's just assume the facts prove that. Then what you're dealing with is kind of an insurance issue. So who's going to write the check for the damages to the car? The first thing that our person, the person who wrote the question, what's her name?
Elizabeth. And we tried to call her because I want to know, because she didn't, I assume because she says is the rental company responsible, so I assume that the out-of-stater was in a rental vehicle. But that's so crazy, though, that a rental company would issue a vehicle that has expired registration and no proof of insurance. That's not right.
That's the thing. That car should be registered. I mean, it could be that there's a clerical issue. They failed to put the right registration in the car. Who knows? But now
I did that. I've been rolling dirty for, March, April, May, June, July, August, 5 months because I forgot to put my new sticker on.
Yeah.
On my license. I didn't even know I was rolling dirty, but I was. So I guess it happens.
Did you get pinched?
No, I didn't. I just found the sticker. I was like, hey, what's this sticker for? It says 25. I was like, no, it was 24, this year stuff. It's like, wow, that's supposed to be on my license plate, dummy.
Yeah, let me throw that on there. Well, at least you paid the registration.
Right. So again, where do you go with if it is a rental? Like, obviously, this is in the McDivitt wheelhouse.
I mean, here's the thing: there is a law that tries to insulate rental car companies from the people that rent the cars. But there are also certain but there are certain caveats too, and they need to make sure they're renting to somebody who's responsible. They're typically making sure that person is insured as well. But Elizabeth her primary thing to do is to file a claim with her own insurance company, first of all. Now, what happens when you do that? Now, a lot of people don't like to do that because then they file a claim with their insurance company and they have to pay the deductible. The good thing about doing that, though, is then you've got somebody helping you to try to get reimbursed that money back from the person who caused the crash. And they will help then go get reimbursed for the damages that they've had to pay for, plus your deductible. And it helps save you the aggravation of trying to track down the person's insurance company and filing the claim with them directly and dealing with their insurance company. It's better to deal with your own insurance company most of the time. And when I say that, what I mean is most of the time it's easier to deal with your own insurance company than it is to deal with the insurance company of the person who is ostensibly responsible for the crash. But there are exceptions to that too. And then trying to make sure that just because at the time of the crash they weren't able to produce valid insurance and valid registration doesn't mean they weren't actually insured. Now, there's a separate issue here too, which is if the rental car company knew that this was a person who shouldn't have been renting a car, shouldn't be on the road, they have direct responsibility. You have a claim directly against the insurance company for negligently entrusting this vehicle to somebody who shouldn't be driving. But that's a separate issue. And given the level of damages,
we don't know who they are. So.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think the level of damages warrants that kind of an aggressive claim because that just takes extra money and extra time. And I think the easiest thing for Elizabeth to do right now is to file the claim with her own insurance company and get them on her side trying to claw that money back.
Okay. Again, work with your insurance company. Because they care about you because you're the one paying them money. The other place just wants to get out of it as fast as they can.
Yeah, that they should. I mean, if they're doing it right, that's what they should do. But we have a lot of claims for people against their own insurance companies because their own insurance companies aren't doing the right thing. So while I say to you it should be easier to deal with your own insurance company, we're talking in relative terms. Relative to dealing with the other person's insurance company, it should be easier. We fight every day people's own insurance companies because they don't want to pay some of these claims too. And usually that's on the personal injury side, the body, the damages to the human body. So we are fighting every day for people who are in these crashes to make sure that all insurance companies are taking their injuries seriously. And let me tell you, Ross, it is a fight.
I bet.
They will not just roll over and pay the money they're supposed to pay. They just don't do it. That's why we do what we do when we're in business.
Right, because that's other people's jobs is to make sure that doesn't happen, and you guys try to combat that. It goes back to the Disney conversation we had.
And I was about to say, and fight back on those Disney-esque types of claims that are just ridiculous. They're designed to screw the little guy. That's what that's these corporate policies, these insurance policies, and I don't mean just like the written policy that insures somebody, but the way their policies of operation, how they operate, it's designed to maximize their profits and minimize what they do to take care of all of us.
I always point to the character from Fight Club that Ed Norton played. He was like an insurance guy who would basically see if recall were necessary on vehicles or it would be weighted on how much they would lose in lawsuits, and if it was worthwhile to make a move and do a recall or just let people die and pay off a couple lawsuits and let it be done. And there's people, that's their job.
That's what they do.
Pretty scary. All right, we only got about 5 minutes left. Dave McDivitt, our guest. We hang with the Law Frog once a month. McDivittlaw.com if you want to find out more about Dave and the gang there. I really wish we got a hold of this girl because I want to know how to pronounce her name. Someone said it. Every time I look at it, I can't say it for some reason. Cassia. Someone said it's pronounced Cassia, maybe? Kassia? Cassia. Anyway, my brother stole my dad's car. My dad signed the title over to me before he retired and then moved to a different country. What do I do? And we would love to know what country he moved to, first of all. And was he moving there just to get away from your rotten brother?
Yeah. What's the weather like?
And what kind of car is it, too?
Yeah.
So I think that determines on what you should do. So I know it's a little vague. Anything for her?
I would love to know what country Dad went to, just because I love to think about beaches. I think the bigger issue is, what does she mean by brother stole it? And what exactly did brother do? And when did brother steal it? Because a lot of this has to do with perhaps interpreting who actually was going to get the car. Did brother just drive away with the car thinking dad was going to leave him the car? And then dad just made a side deal with daughter, with Cassia or Kasha, to leave the car to her. What does that look like?
Let's assume it's that. Let's say the brother's a little pissed because dad gave the car to his sister and he thinks it should be his. So he just showed up one day and drove off with it.
Okay, so she has valid title.
And she has the title signed over by her old man, but again, he's not around, so what do you do?
I'm reminded of the video game Grand Theft Auto.
GTA!
GTA. I mean, if we're really at that level where she has legal title to it and he just comes in the garage and takes it and drives away, I mean, that's motor vehicle theft.
And then you just go to the police department and file a...
that's exactly right.
And they'll take care of it from there, huh?
You hope they do.
Yeah.
Yep.
Huh.
I mean, and this is probably one of those cases where if we know that he stole it, I mean, he's probably findable. I mean, I doubt he also fled to another country. It's not... But... that's what made that. So those are kind of weird facts because you don't have you don't have some random person stealing your car for a joyride or try to strip it down for parts. You've got it out of spite? Yeah, and so
that's what it sounds like. And maybe she doesn't want her brother to go to jail, so she's trying.
I'll tell you what I think it is.
Yeah. He
also maybe had access to the car. He had his own set of keys somehow, and Dad said, "Look, Cassia, Kasha, the car is going to be yours." So. But in the meantime, brother decided to just take possession of it. And we know where brother lives, and he lives 5 miles away, but he won't turn the car over to her. He won't bring it back. And she wants somebody to get in the middle of her relationship with her brother and get the car back. And there are no easy ways to do that without bringing the law in.
Bring in the law. Bring in the law. Make him pay. Make him pay.
Yeah.
So funny, we had a comedian on a couple weeks ago, and he had a father. He hasn't talked to him in a long time. But he said his father invited him to breakfast and then took the keys to this car and then disappeared for a while. He didn't know that this was going on. Went and made copies of the keys and then got the keys back to him. And then eventually the dad showed up and just stole the guy's car and drove to Vegas. And then he disappeared after that. It's like there's some rotten family members.
Holy cow.
Right? How sinister is that? It's like, hey, you want to go to breakfast, son? God. Steal the keys, make coffee, steal the car. Whew.
That's pretty devious.
Yeah.
I'm going to say one other thing, too, about Cassia Kasha. It could be that there's without calling the police, too, on this, it could be resolved, as you might suspect, by the phone call, letter, bringing the dad's instructions into play here, and also maybe having an attorney who can look at this and try to work with brother to bring it back.
Yeah, that's another question we had. Is like, what kind of vehicle is it? Because that, if it's a brand new Mercedes, obviously that's a little bit of money involved there. So maybe would be good to go the distance, try to get this thing back. And if it's an old beater, it's not worth a whole lot. Maybe it's not worth a fight. So there are a lot of questions that would.
I want the facts. I want the facts. I want the facts.
All right. Well, yeah, we'll continue to. Shot her a call earlier, so if she calls back, we'll feed those details next month when we get a chance to hang out again, Dave.
Thank you for listening to the Law Frog Radio Show with David McDivitt and Ross Ford on Kilo 94.3 FM, presented by McDivitt Law Firm.